Welcome to Fable Table, an actual play live stream focused on critical world building, collaborative storytelling, and finding the fun in games. Today, we are celebrating the post-mortem of Season 3. The Wild Sea season has come and gone. And joining me is the cast of that season to talk about our thoughts and feelings on the season. How's everyone doing today?
Pretty solid.
Pretty
Nick.
good.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Can't
Excellent.
complain.
If you missed the
You just won't.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Brian. If you missed the pre-stream, you missed out on the biggest of newses. Andy is now a dog dad.
I'm a dog dad.
Oh,
Muzzle.
We adopted for Temer's information. We adopted a 1.5-year-old Aussie cattle dog mix. Who is just an absolute love bug, and he's very, very cute.
He's like
he's got radar ears.
He's got
like,
90% ears. He's
It's very cute.
oh my gosh.
His ears can pick up and triangulate kibble at any distance.
It's a great power.
Life skills.
So if you missed out on us talking about that, you can go back and check the VOD on Twitch as long as that's up. And you can also, I'm sure, find photos if you can find Where's Waldo? I mean, Andy on Instagram.
It's Andor Gottimer, and I've already got a story highlight going called listed under Jasperilla.
It's amazing. I've been refreshing nonstop. In fact, I'm refreshing right now. Wait, is Tara posting on under that too?
I don't think Tara can add to my highlight.
Oh, I don't know how Instagram works. So
she has already thought about just creating a Dogstagram account for Jasper.
Yes,
He needs one. I would follow that.
Same.
We determined that the account Jasper Good Boy, Jasper with 5 R's, is available on Instagram. So.
As much as I would love to sit here and talk about Jasper until I pass out or die, we have a show to talk about. So, I have a list here of questions to go over, and I've shared it with you all. If you are watching live, feel free to post questions in the chat. We will get to those very quickly. If you have questions for our cast after this is live and has dropped on YouTube, you are more than welcome to join the Discord or hop on YouTube and share your thoughts, feelings, and questions there, and I will pass them along to the cast on your behalf. So, without further ado, so in your mind, players, what went really well this season? It was a shorter season. We only had 13 episodes. I know, Andy, a lot shorter than you were hoping for. But what went well?
So hard, though.
What went well in Andy's
goal
mind?
of extending the season.
That's what
by
went
3
well.
We were extremely successful in our plan to force you into telling more story.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you.
You're very welcome. I don't know where this notion that you need to get me to make a story longer comes from, because like as soon as one season ends, we can just move on to the next one. There's more story to be had in new stories.
True.
That's true.
Yeah, but sometimes we want to just stick around in this world just a little bit longer.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Okay, I'm responding to your insistence of only 10 episodes. I think we were at like episode 6 or 7, and I was like, "There's no way we're gonna wrap this up in 3 more sessions."
No.
And you were like, "Oh yeah, we are. It'll be done." And
All giggled.
And then Andy says, "There is no way we're wrapping this up."
yeah,
Like, we'll see about that.
Yeah, fair. I always have the best of intentions. And one of the reasons I wanted to have a shorter season is because I know that I struggle with pacing, and I really wanted to try and push myself to use every scene, use every minute, use every line by every character as intentionally as I could. And I feel like I did push myself to a level that I really liked.
Yeah.
And I am happy with getting it done in 13 episodes. I
think the
I needed to
pacing
pick a
was
number.
In answer to
Yeah,
your
I don't
question-
remember.
Go ahead.
You go ahead.
Nope, you first.
Okay.
You spoke before you go.
I was just gonna say I don't really remember like any episode that seemed like low or uneventful or anything. I think that's one of the big things that genuinely went really well is that the system. I mean, to me, it was a little overwhelming how open it was. Kind of, I fall subject to analysis paralysis a lot of the time. So when there's literally anything that you can do, that I struggle with that sometimes. But because of that, there's always something interesting that we could do, like in each session and each moment. And I feel like we did that very well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree with that.
I agree. I feel like setting a goal for how many sessions made it so we didn't tangent too much. Most of what we were doing was for furthering the story that we wanted to further. We could have gone so many different ways. We could have spent 7 or 8 episodes doing random side stuff, and we didn't. And that way we didn't move away from the story enough that we lost it. So I think that went well.
Yeah.
So whether your goal was 10 and we accomplished it in 13, the real goal was keeping us on track, and it worked.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. I think especially because how do I say this? I don't think that this is going to come across as any sort of like slight, but I know when I was talking to Shannon very early on about recruiting her for another season of the show, her time and the time commitment was something we spent some time kind of like talking about, and it was salient for you. So I wanted to be respectful of your time and not ask you to commit to something that would be too long. And I told you 10 episodes, and the part of the reason, besides my own like pushing myself, that I wanted to try and keep it to 10 was because I had made that commitment to you. And you did keep telling me it's fine, let's play more. But I don't know. Christian guilt got me.
Commitments are commitments.
Yeah.
Sometimes, yeah.
Well, I mean, I will say that like the prospect of doing a shorter season was appealing for sure. But it's like it's like once you get there and you start playing the game, you're like, 5 more minutes, or we can go a little bit longer. Okay,
Yeah.
well, one more round. So, I think that, having a firm mindset of like 10 episodes, but being flexible and allowing us to explore the story to its end point and also explore the characters and, some more gameplay and some more monsters and, just being flexible enough to give us like those extra 3 episodes was really generous, and it was lovely and fun. And yeah, I think that keeping us on task and sticking with like the plot that we were trying to like chase, I think you were very successful at that. I think that went really well this time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
I agree.
I will say that I agree as well. I will say that confronting a 10 session season feels a lot more realistic.
Hey, Andy,
You're fading.
you're coming
Oh.
through very muffled.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I reflexively like lean my ear closer, even though I'm wearing freaking headphones.
I was
continue.
just saying that I think that 10 sessions feels more acceptable, not acceptable, but just like more appealing if we already know the system. Because like part of what I found so engaging and wanted to go more than 10 sessions was just like figuring out how to interact with this world. So yeah, I feel like if you said we're going to do Wild Sea again and it's only going to be like 8 sessions, that would feel more manageable just because I feel like I know the world a little bit better, so I know how to get out of it what I want in 8 sessions, whereas this one I felt like I was still figuring it out.
Yeah. One thing
You
I've
could easily finish that one in 10 or 12.
Yes, true. One thing that I've done for characters I've played in previous role-playing campaigns is write vignettes for my character to like, and it doesn't even have to be anything particularly interesting, but just like find a way to settle myself in the world, like find them in a place that I like, focus on the senses in. What can I see? What can I smell? What can I touch? What can I hear? And also like with my mannerisms, and ask the storyteller like about the mannerisms of at least one character that I can engage with in that little vignette. So maybe we'll try some sort of exercise like that in the future to kind of accelerate that feeling.
Yeah, acclimate to a new system.
I think that's a good idea. I especially enjoyed the starters that we did in the first 2 seasons, where we played a game to kind of build our world together. We didn't do that this time, which is fine because we wanted to keep it shorter. It was good, but those were also really fun. So that might be a good way to ingratiate ourselves in our new world.
I love the Quiet Year.
Yeah.
I love the Quiet Year. That's so fun.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in playing the Quiet Year again. I have a couple other games in my back pocket that we haven't seen. One in particular that I think Andy and Shannon might really appreciate, called Dialect.
Ooh.
It's focused on language, specifically like how language dies, especially as like a oppressed or minor community kind of gets like incorporated into the status quo or the majority. It's really interesting. Ooh.
I have to look that up now.
Yeah.
Dialect is going on my list.
Do it. Okay.
It sounds fun, but also depressing.
Yeah.
A little bit.
The study of dead languages. Mwah.
Yeah.
No, dying languages.
Yeah,
that's
dying.
like even.
They're going to be dead eventually. Let's just call it what it is. But no, that's really cool. It's like a little, and it's a PDF from Thorny Games, a game about language and how to. Yep, that's the guy.
That's the one. It's
Something that
beautiful.
I'm a really big fan of, in that it's when you have ample time, which probably wasn't really the case when we were getting this started, but one-on-one sessions to kind of finalize the character, explore like some of the mechanics, like Eric, local Midwest Eric, he did that with our characters. We would just have like a one-on-one solo session to just do a little bit of backstory. Just run through a scenario, like what kind of decisions does your character make in these situations. So that really helps me a lot.
You can role play your character in your head all you want, but until you do it at the table, you don't know who they really are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're learning the systems and mechanics too when you do like a little combat encounter gets involved or whatever. So you kind of learn how that works. That is one thing.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. That's one thing with this system. I'm so used to combat being a big part of the tabletop RPGs that I play. So I did kind of miss that. But and the way the combat was here is just like any other check. It was really interesting, really different. had something you're going to say, Shannon?
I was just gonna say, I enjoyed that we kind of just got thrown into the deep end on it. I enjoyed that we were figuring out the mechanics as we were going and learning about the world together and sort of making decisions together and instead of having like a predetermined kind of I don't know, just I liked how free and open it was. I liked that
building
it
the
was
ship together.
yeah,
And
exactly.
like that was definitely really, really cool.
Yeah. And it was just it was I like that it was something that was new to all of us. So it didn't feel like anybody in particular was just like fucking killing it and there was like and like one player or whatever was just like slowing everything down or didn't understand. It was just like we were all on the same page and coming up together and like learning the mechanics of it and learning the world, trying to figure out like what our characters do. And that was like that for me. I'm like, okay, like when I was choosing the aspects for my character, I was going like, okay, this is pretty neat. What can I do with this? But then when it came like for actual gameplay, like when it came to like combat, sometimes I didn't necessarily use the things that I thought I was going to use for my character. So I don't know. I just I enjoyed that we just kind of got thrown in and noodled around like the first couple of episodes and figured shit out, and then I don't know. It felt more cohesive that way to me.
It was fun to learn as a group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think this is a good segue into one of the other questions I had about the system itself. What do you like about so we've heard a lot about what we do like about the rule system, and please continue with like the aspects you like about the system, even beyond like the character creation, which is really, really fun and exciting, but also like what do you not jive with the system? I definitely have some thoughts, but I want to hear others first.
Yeah, I already kind of gave like really the only thing that I didn't like is just like I said earlier, it's so open that it's a little overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah.
It's maybe if I had been playing like tabletop RPGs longer than I have been, like I didn't start when I was younger. I started when like when I started dating Sam. So not that long ago. I'd be more used to acclimating to that kind of thing, but it was kind of a lot for me for a little bit there.
Do you think that was an issue with the system or with how I framed your choices?
I'd say the system, because I kind of rely on when I play D&D or Morkborg or Cyborg, like having the very defined, like you have this weapon, it does this damage, this is the roll you make, this is what you have to hit, like that kind of stuff, your character's abilities, that kind of they're more specific, so that kind of helps guide me a little bit more. It helps me like rein things in a little bit. I don't know, it's my brain is weird. I'm still trying to understand it,
and not just you, everyone's. Absolutely.
See, that's the thing that I love about systems like this. I love being able to do random stuff that doesn't fall within the rule set. Come up with different things that shouldn't be there. Play characters that don't have to be really good at hitting with weapons. I think season 2, I didn't land a single attack roll, if I remember correctly.
No.
It didn't matter because I wasn't attacking because of it. Like, so.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the flip side of that.
Well, we also get moments like I'm going to throw a bottle of I don't know what chocolate sauce at a big bad.
Exactly.
How great is that? I think maybe the only, like, not the only, but like the downside for me with the with the mechanics were how difficult it was to remove a mire or a mark. And like those actions can be done like when we were in port or whatever, if we wanted to use a whisper, which whispers are very valuable. I understand, like, but I guess I don't know. I would have preferred like a system maybe closer to like D&D, like where it's like we take a short rest and our mires are cleared, or remove one check from your aspect, or you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just to so that when big battles came, we're like fighting at full capacity. But it didn't. But even with that as like a handicap for gameplay, like it didn't really affect us too. Like it didn't hinder us to the point like where we weren't able to function or play or be cohesive as a group. Do you know what I mean? Like we were still able to like think around it or play around it or offer aid through like boosting another player's role, because like we have a skill that they don't, which I like being able to like work around that.
Yeah.
Like I guess if I had to have one complaint about it, it would be like, geez, why do I have to use a whisper to like fix this thing? Or are we ever going to go back to port to have like a rest and relaxation session? We spent most of our time on the sea fighting things. So and when we did go to port, we killed everyone. So
Yeah.
it turned out not to be a great decision after all.
Yeah,
So,
I think part of that has to do with stems from some of the pacing challenges.
Yeah.
I kept you all moving. I didn't focus in on the journeys as much as you should have. This feels like a very great system for like monster of
Longer
the
play.
week, or yeah, just taking your
Yeah.
time and just enjoying the journey, but that's not the kind of story I was telling. That we were telling. So I think I neglected for you all a lot of opportunities for the like, let's just drop anchor and rest and see how it goes. Because
Stop here, do some research or something.
because I wanted to keep the stakes high, keep the tension high, and keep the party moving.
Yeah. Which you did excellently.
Thank
yeah,
you.
mission accomplished, bub.
But in that vein, I think I was quite forgiving, and I didn't penalize as much as I should have for being marked mire. I think somewhere it says like you basically, if you have mire, you should be rolling it like with a cut in most situations.
Anything that relates to the action.
Yeah, and I did not. I think I did it in the moments where it felt like that was an interesting character moment, and I think I picked a lot on Salt with that, with the shaking hands or thinking something's chasing you.
Yeah. But I wanted that.
Your mires were very interesting too.
Yeah. They just kind of happen to be the sort of thing that it can apply to most situations. Like we were spending a lot of time in the daylight, so when I had that mire, like, of course, that's one that I flipped what was actually written in the book because it just seemed more interesting to me.
Yeah.
But also the shaking hands, that's gonna affect you when you're doing anything, almost. So it was just easier to incorporate my mires in the given moment, I feel. But I wanted that. Like I like having the negative effect that you have to deal with for a little bit. Speaking to what you were saying about the difficulty to remove them, the difficulty I found there was that there were other things that we wanted to do. There were interesting options for doing projects and stuff, but we couldn't do that and work to clear a mire.
Right.
So, yeah.
I echo what Shadow said, that this system was nice, that it really enabled you to sort of ham it up and do whatever you want. There's I know that conventional D&D is meant to work that way, where dungeon masters can just say, give me this roll, based on whatever the person's saying they want to do. But this system encourages pitching by the players, which kind of like feels a little more collaborative, and also think I want to argue with my DM a little bit, so that encourages that. The only thing that I didn't like about the system was I didn't find that the leveling up made the impact that I wanted it to. I feel like generally I had just as many successes and failures on any given roll after or before level ups, so it didn't really feel like it was impacting what I was successful at. So even if I targeted skills that had been leveled up for a specific action, I was still getting what felt like the same number of successes and failures, which could also be a reflection on the RNG built into the playdate. So, but
we love the
that was
playdate. It's the highlight.
Yeah.
For me. Just
shout out to Panic Studio for making
Right.
the weirdest little handheld game system. Got some awesome games on it. But yeah, because I after like the second level up, I was kind of very ambivalent about my actual levels at that point, because I was just like, well, it's not going to make a difference. Like, I'm still gonna. It didn't feel like it was. That could also just be my own perception.
I feel like modifying aspects was the best use of your level up.
Yeah.
Adding attributes to your aspect to make them more beneficial.
yeah.
Which is
But we
maybe
couldn't figure
also
that out without trial and error. So
which is maybe also why I didn't get out of it what I would have hoped, because I mostly just buffed skills and of course in my head I'm like, yeah, add more dice to each roll, but
Yeah.
statistically,
Well, that's what we're used to with other
that would work,
systems.
but
right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I have one more. The twist. The twist mechanic. I found that particularly challenging. It was really hard to come up with twists in the moment during gameplay that would be relevant to the action that was happening. Like, I'm a creative person, but like, I'm not. I buckle under pressure. I would just sit there with like wide eyes, like, what am I gonna do? I don't know. I pitched this prior, but to me, I feel like it would be maybe more successful to come up with like a predetermined set of lists and then to roll for it. Like, if everybody pitched something that they thought would be a good twist, it doesn't necessarily have to pertain to the action that's happening in the moment, but it would add either something positive or something negative. So it's like everybody comes up with a list of whatever out of 100 or something, and then you say roll a 100, and then it's like if you land a 25, then it's a positive, and it's like the Firefly lets you see behind the curtain for a minute, and you understand the motivation of the character that you're fighting, and they have daddy issues, and I don't know, or something, and you can like.
I mean, honestly, Shannon,
but
you could say the twist is we learn about that character's daddy issues. That would have been an acceptable twist.
I also like the ones where it's like odd, where it's like for inexplicably, you roll a 78 and your character has hot dog fingers and you don't know what to do. Like you get like big swollen Mickey Mouse hands. It's like, well, how the fuck am I, if you're trying to like, defuse a bomb, like that's a bad situation. Or your character breaks the fourth wall. I don't know. Obviously now that we're not in the moment and we're not playing, I can think of twists like great. But like when it's happening, it's so challenging.
Yeah.
The more challenging, the thing that felt like it made it more challenging than it needed to be was just the fact that there's that additional line at the end that it's not in benefit or detriment to the players. Like, it's got to be to the person doing the test.
So
it should be neutral.
I
different.
might have read it completely differently. My understanding is that it couldn't affect the outcome of, like, it can't affect the consequences or success of like the actual roll. So like if you had rolled to shoot and you rolled a conflict, so or a miss, you can't turn a miss into a hit, or you can't turn a hit into a miss. You can't free yourself of the consequence of a conflict or failure. Like if you take damage in response, you can't nullify that damage, but you can tweak it or affect the scene in some completely different way. So that's how I read it. And maybe we didn't do a good job of clarifying that up front.
Well, I mean, we experienced the kind of twist that Shannon was describing with the chronovaric moss. Like that one had like a roll dice for a sort of specific and of list of very vague modifications to the system, to the situation.
I loved that.
Which
I like the moss. That was a nice touch.
Which I
Moss
think
always comes back
Yeah, it does.
full circle.
Which I think could have. I'm mixed on it. I think it could have made it.
You're
More fair.
It happened again.
weird.
Because I think it could have helped make it feel more fair, or at least less like requiring of us to make a decision. Again, I also, much like the making pitches for your action, I liked the collaborative storytelling element of making pitches for the twist as well. I thought that was just fun. Like, it also smoothed over the insult of, well, I rolled an utter failure, but there's got to be a twist, so at least we get something fun out of it. You know?
That is one thing I really, really love about the mechanics of this system is the way that twists, like sugar-coated bitter rolls, and the way that that cut showed you what you could have had, and it kind of worked both ways, like made rolls bittersweet because you could see what you missed out on, but that both like lessening the blow but making it more exciting too, because like then the cut, it just is more meaningful than, oh, you have disadvantage or you roll one fewer die.
Cut was cool.
I really like that.
There were a couple times where it fucked me like real bad. I was like, I rolled a 6, and then you were like, but you got to cut it, and I'm like, son of a bitch. It was like
that was the worst when like, the person rolling. We were talking about stuff for a moment before the roll was made, so they forgot that there was a cut involved. That was the worst.
It felt real bad. It felt so bad.
Hey, I got a 6, but you cut it. Oh, damn it.
Yeah, it did feel really mean to be like, oh, Shannon, don't forget there was a cut.
And she did. Shannon forgot every time. So, oh well.
Fantasy Flight. I played the Fantasy Flight Star Wars system,
Those
and
dice
they have
are
kind of a
weird.
similar thing. They have like symbols on their dice. That the horrible part about it is there's
Just learning to read
symbols
them
instead of numbers, and
yeah.
this symbol counteracts that symbol. This is a positive, that's a negative. They cancel each other out.
Their system has 6 or 7 different types of dice, all with different symbols on them.
Yeah. But at the core of that, you have the ability to roll. You find out if you succeeded or failed your the laser pistol shot at the stormtrooper or whatever.
Yeah.
You miss. But there's a miss, but something positive happens, or there's a miss, but something negative happens to the scene, and it's kind of in that similar vein, but with it being limited to, hey, I rolled this symbol, so that means at least it's going to be a positive thing happens to the scene. It could be like their cover gets blown up instead, like the crate that they're hiding behind collapses, or if it's a negative, the stormtrooper missed you, but he like shot your equipment and it broke, or
yeah,
kind of limits a little bit. but you end up with these ridiculous dice pools that you're rolling, and
They're
you're
absurd.
spending like minutes. Like, okay, no, cancels.
Yeah, there's boosts, boost die, ability die, proficiency die, force die, setback die, and difficulty die. Oh, and and challenge die.
It feels like when you when they used to like throw bones and stones to
Yeah.
read your
scrying.
fortune.
Augury.
Scrying. Yeah, exactly.
Really?
And you're like, what do the stones tell us today? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I don't mind that. I think that's kind of
I think
fun.
it's interesting, but if it can bog down the action because you have to spend a lot of time interpreting. Not just the outcome of the roll in the fictional and mechanical sense, but just like reading the die themselves. Yeah, that was
good for a digital platform.
Takes you more than 2 seconds,
right?
When you're reading it, then you're just expanding everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other facets to the system people liked or didn't like that we haven't talked about? I, for one, really struggled with edges. It made sense as a way to kind of frame how your character approaches problems, but I think when it came to describing a die roll or an action, people would lead with, here's the edge I'm using, and not articulating what it is their character's doing. And I struggled with it because I also didn't want to like undercut the number of dice people were rolling. So I would ask them, what edge are you using first? And then work our way backwards to, okay, and what does that look like? Whereas I think that it's more exciting to like, hey, just tell me what your character is doing, and then we will interpret what that means in terms of building a dice pool.
Then you build your pool.
Yeah. But I was trying to lean into making sure you all had the right number, like we're benefiting from your choices from your character creation and having those dice and not describing actions that you had no edge in.
Yeah.
But maybe
I feel like creatively though, if you'd eliminated edges entirely and said you start with 1d6 and then you build from there, we all would have rolled the same number of dice every time. Like we found a way to make one of our edges work into what we did.
Yeah.
I felt like it didn't have as much consequence what edge you chose. The skills, that had consequence.
Right.
Aspects, consequence. Edges, not so much.
I think you could have used the edge. This would have extended the season a lot, but I think you could have used the edges purely as like a storytelling device and like have someone do the roll and then be like, you used this edge, so what did it look like when you got this roll based on this edge? And like use it to frame after the roll, like the way the outcome was described.
Like
it feels purely like
it's the iron,
it's the
right?
Yeah.
Force, determination, and willpower. What does that look like in the context of the role to like really like develop like what that scene looks like? No, I like that. I think
Yeah. I've thought about that kind of stuff too.
Sorry.
No, that was I thought about that. Like I want to see what the result of the roll is, so that way I can describe what like why does my character fail so bad? Like what does it look like?
And how does the edge give background to that?
Yeah.
So, and you know, I think that that's fair. I have in other actual play content heard people say like, let's just roll this dice, see what we get, and then we can go back to how did I even approach this? I think that is fair to use the dice roll as inspiration, but I felt like I was kind of overusing the like starting from what edge are you using.
Well, and that, you know, that's like if I was going to do like a Tides Cook roll, like I would love to see what the roll is and then describe, after the fact, like how
Yeah.
lore and like some weird like vibes are determining why Dill made that bad decision or whatever, you know, like even though he was flavor engineer and could cook anything.
Absolutely.
Was
Um,
was he
engineer,
was he
yeah.
flavor engineer?
He was.
Yeah.
He tried.
I will say-
in our hearts, Nick.
He tried to flavor
And I
engineer.
will say one thing about that, which I actually really appreciate, Nick, that you made this choice, because I don't need my RPGs to be granular and crunchy as if you were biting into a dried out pomegranate. Like I I and this game is written for people who like that. Like counting every single specimen and fuel consumption and like getting so detailed. It felt like the spike drive system in the last season that we sort of like yada yada over, because it just seemed like it was crunchy for people who love crunch. And which is great if that's your thing. But I deeply appreciate, Nick, that you were just like, this is a thing we can yada yada and that's okay.
What part did I yada yada here?
Like you sort of made it a little bit less of like a, you know, we didn't have like specific counts of every single thing or specific volumes of specimens or
Yeah.
That was not me. The system doesn't care. The system doesn't want to know and is not
Okay, well,
interested in how much of it do you have. With the exception of like, can you use your whisper once or twice?
like-
How many boxes are on a track? That's it. That's all it cares about.
That's fair. But there was just like there was aspects of our ship that was like once per automatically acquire a fruit-based specimen when you use the end of the fruiting tree. And it was like we would just sort of yada yada that we did that. We didn't have to be like every single time we're at sea, someone has to tend to the tree.
Well,
And we just said like, yeah, we had collected 2 pieces of fruit or whatever, and
so
like it wasn't
mechanically the way that particular aspect of this ship was worded is that yes, someone does have to use an action during a montage to pick that fruit. However, I knew that because I was skipping over a ton of montage opportunities that I was denying you like the benefit of that choice that you all intentionally made. So I felt it was fair to just grant it to you because I was the one intentionally like like removing that opportunity. So I was just giving it back to you.
Well, I appreciate that fix because it helped it feel smoother and or just like we could just carry on.
Yeah. Well, especially because you all cared about it. You chose it and you were asking about it. So of course I'm not going to say like, well, you chose it but because of, you know, scheduling and commitments, no, fuck you guys.
I would have sent you a very gnarly text about that if that was how you DM'd this. I'd have been like, "What the fuck, Nick?"
Looking at the ship
if you
thing,
pushed your glasses up your nose and then did it.
Really quickly,
Well,
Andy,
then, yeah.
I also now just realized in my headcanon that the next fruit that the tree fruits, Shannon definitely takes when she gets invited up to the satellites with Volpa and Iota. It's just gone. Everyone's just like, where'd the fruit go?
Yep. It's with me.
It was her housewarming gift.
I really thought you were going to say it's the fruit. But that fruit's
I'm sorry, Andy.
You're cutting out
It's
again.
happening. It's happening.
What is happening?
I don't know. Hang on a second. I'm unplugged. Let's go back.
Brian, what did you do to Andy's setup?
Oh, is it when he puts his hand like right here?
Oh yeah, maybe.
Is he like block? Does he block the microphone?
Maybe.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
Okay. I'll put my hands up here.
How dare you.
I put my hands up in the air.
Yeah. It was just backtracking. I was, brought up the ship thing on our sheet just now, and I was talking about the fruiting tree. I realized that we never really fleshed out our factions sort of reputation pieces.
No.
And just to echo what was said earlier, I think the Quiet Year would have been so good for that, to like give us a little more of like a sense of our place in the community.
Yeah, I think I set all of these factions up because I wanted the world to feel lived in. And also I think it would have meant more. Yeah, if you had, say, like, I did set up the Twin Horns and the Hearth, and then we kind of skipped over the faction, so that could have had some implications with the direction you all took. I think also the hunting families, I made one. If you had gone to them and asked for their help hunting anima, that would have just been a much more violent, combat focused finale there.
Would we have had to kill them all, or are you saying that?
No,
like,
you would have asked them for help.
Okay.
But then it quickly became, I don't know, I invented, what was it? The captain, the asshole guy. Captain.
Why do I want to call him?
I don't remember his name either.
I forgot his name after he died.
Also, Nick, I love that I just noticed in the tracks that you had added Anima's seal, speed, saws, armor, tilt, as if we're gonna really be doing a ship-to-ship battle with Anima.
Yep. I preprepared
Can you tell us about that? About the battle that
Yeah. Let me tell you about all the prep I did before the session where you all descended down and then got weapons. I was so ready for that. And then you all just described a plan that was like a remote trigger, and I'm like, especially given how much time we have left and how much time we've spent on this, like I can't justify
not doing that.
Yeah, like not honoring that or fucking up your plan. I think it's just like, I don't know, maybe it was anticlimactic. But anyway, when I was prepping, I was, and as I was even thinking about Anima when I was conceptualizing it and what a final confrontation could look like, I was just imagining like a giant Transformer-esque Kraken that could change shape, because XL Terror's crew, they basically angler fished. There was a ship they came upon that was empty. They approached it, and then they got attacked, like a desert trap spider. What are they called? Or anglerfished. Like it came up from beneath and just destroyed their ship. Who knows what it did to the captain? I'm trying to remember his name. The guy you all pissed off at the Ladle's Rest.
Fuck that
guy. Anyway.
I have the name somewhere, but I don't want to go diving for it unless you really want to hear it, and then I'll find it.
I don't care.
Okay.
Nick, how did you envision what?
It's got to be in the list of connections, isn't it? Captain Sage?
It was Captain Sage. Yeah, thank you.
How did you envision the Toroble Towers going? How did you think that was going to go? Or did you have expectations?
I really didn't know. Because for me, what's interesting is reflecting as I kind of conceptualized them. I both felt I was very inspired by the fiction of those factions in the book, but then I heavily tweaked it to kind of create the setting I wanted. I wanted the Twin Horns to be this group that had a tenuous grasp on their city, that was scary. You don't want to mess with them, and you don't want to mess with their order. But their people are suffering. They're living in harsh conditions, harsher than anyone there actually realizes, because the only thing keeping them warm is dying, which is really all they have is warmth, and the niceness of wild sailors that bring them stuff. So I wanted them to be like a kind of just militaristic police state, sort of, with some really smart engineers that you could lean on. You could lean on the Twin Horns for their strength. You could lean on the Hearth to work with you to understand Anima better. But I wanted that to be posited in this really disgusting, morally corrupt, on all sides for their own reasons, society. And I just wanted to offer you what looked like something on a silver platter, and then as soon as you start to peel one layer back and then others, it just gets really gross. And I was curious how you all would handle that, if you would be, you know, like the traditional dispassionate D&D group that's just like, well, we don't give a fuck, we're taking them for what we can use the situation to our benefit for, or if we're going to make our own moral judgments of the situation and exert our will and influence. And however that looked, I didn't care. I just knew I have to set it up. I need to set up all these dominoes and pins, see how you all decide to knock them down, and then let them fall how they will. Like, regardless, I have to play it as true to the fiction as I can. And if that means y'all get it, like, you all go to the bottom of a literal barrel in the sea and like tell the gun it needs to shoot at you, so be it. And that's kind of what happened.
Yep.
I will say, like, I feel like the way that we left Horrible Tower was in some way a consequence of needing to move the story forward. Feeling like we've got 3 more or 4 more sessions, we got a lot of shit to do still. Because I think I would have liked to have lived with the consequences there a little bit more, and maybe tried to see a resolution there. And I was really, truly expecting that when we got to the Dirty Straw, that we would have the reputation of like city murderers.
Yeah.
I was surprised that we did not have any like backlash.
I thought about that, and I think I told you all, I don't remember if this was like live, but like, dead men tell no tales.
Yeah.
I guess some people could have fled.
It made sense
and shared their
it made sense
reputation,
that
but
word would not have made it there yet, or yeah.
I think that could be like, if we ever revisit this in the future, that would definitely be a huge thematic piece, is like, what were the consequences of dealing with anima and how we went about it.
I like the idea that Dill left us with, and just going back to Tarroble Towers and having it be like an iron-bound like community, because you know they don't need heat. What do they need heat for?
True.
Right. So it'll just be like, it's like how Mars is a planet inhabited entirely by robots.
Oh,
Tarroble Towers is a community inhabited entirely by Ironbound because it suits their needs.
If you all had not completely disabled the piece of anima in Tarroble Tower, because remember, I had a track that was anima approaches, and I decided, because of how things went, that I wasn't prepared to sick anima on a dying tower. Although maybe that could have actually worked out for the best, now that I think about it. There was ways that could have solved the Tarroble Tower problem. But anyway, I was prepared to like pull that trigger and have the final showdown at Tarroble Tower, and that's how I was anticipating getting done in 10 episodes. And then
that's what I was expecting too.
But then you all fled. So, or maybe I gestured that you should flee, or there was be severe consequences.
You gestured a little bit.
I did. There was going to be consequences.
Yeah, I think how that turned out.
That would have been
when we rolled that Volpa or Iota, whichever, was not there at all, and we're just like, well, so what's here for us at this point? Like, we ended up not. We ended up not getting the like larger story arc pieces out of it that I think we were expecting. So we made our own.
Yeah.
I love how that turned out.
Yeah, it turned into
my
like
character was somebody who didn't trust anybody, And the whole way I roleplayed it was finally learning how to trust all of you. And then we come upon this town where they lead Ironbound to their death and use it to feed their engine to keep themselves alive. And that just, it struck me as evil and wrong. And we ended it. And it had consequences. Maybe people suffered. People were suffering anyway.
Yeah.
And to me, that felt right.
Yeah.
What we did felt right. We ended the tyranny. That was it. People don't like it, they can get out.
I agree.
Let me tell you a little bit about myself as a storyteller. I hear Brian say something like that, and my immediate thought is, okay, in the future, how can because I know one of your drives was like reunite with the Ectus.
Mm-hmm.
My reconnect with your friends and family, or maybe you changed that. But anyway, in my mind, I go to, how can I create an Ectus community that is a mirror or parallel to Tarobal Tower that Prickles is really invested in? And
how do I hurt Prickles?
It's the same but different because it's Prickles and he cares about it as opposed to
Tarobal. It might be a puppy situation in the other room.
Go. Yeah. Wow.
I loved the interaction between Amber and Prickles. I like that, like, Prickles, like, was her homeboy, you know, and they got matching tattoos, and it was just like, I liked their journey together. That was nice.
Yeah. The Torrible Tower situation, just, I couldn't help but think of the game Frostpunk or Frostpunk 2. It's a game where kind of like a SimCity style like strategy game, and it's built around you're keeping the city alive. I haven't played it, I just read into it a little bit because it sounded interesting. Ooh. And your goal in the game is to make all these difficult decisions to run the city, and one of the big things is you have to keep the city warm. And it can lead to sacrificing people in order to you had to make a judgment call. This will cost lives now, probably fewer, but your people are going to hate you for it. Or this option, it will cost more lives later, but it can be perceived as good right now, like that kind of stuff. And just the engine that's keeping the city warm, like there are those parallels that I drew, and I love that situation. It was really interesting to me.
Yeah. I think I just wanted to, because you all walked into the tower, and it's just like, okay, here's a cool tower. They you know, they're in a cold place, but they, you know, seem to have these engineers that know a lot about what's going on. Great, we can use that. Nothing seems wrong here. And then it's like, oh, there's these towering mechs. Okay, cool, no problem. Oh, they have this like lottery system for getting essential goods. Okay, all right, yeah, times are tough. Got it. Oh, the wild sailors seem to be enjoying their time here, but there's a lot of hungry people here. Weird. Some kid just stole something off me. I guess we'll have to go chase him down.
I'll show him.
Oh, the first engineer we meet is crying because of the atrocities he's being forced to commit. Oh, we can feel sorry for him now and then vilify him and crucify him later. Cool. Interesting choices.
Look,
feeling sad about your horrible actions and not doing anything about your horrible actions are two different things.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, they're in a community where people are coming and going all the time. It's like, pack up your family, get on a ship, and go somewhere else if you don't like the conditions where you are.
Oh, Shannon, you know how much I love if you don't like it, you can just leave. Yeah.
That's what I did. I've moved a dozen times. I like where I am now, but I didn't like where I was before.
You don't like the US in 2025? Just leave the country. Go live somewhere else. Oh, wait.
I would fucking love to.
Yeah, you'd love to, but you can't.
I could. It's just that I have a Raleigh, so I can't. But, yeah.
Fair.
I will say the choice to push Auric and then dispatch him felt, at least to my storytelling ideas, felt like just Dill experiencing emotions like significantly for the first time, because I think up until that point I was trying to portray him as just like very mechanical, pun intended, like you know, especially with his regard to Ollie, of just like, this is our sacrifice, he has a purpose and it's dying for us when we need him to. And I think just my idea was like being confronted by someone who has that exact, like, yeah, we can eat people to power our city, but just like having it hit close to Dill felt like it made sense to me. So
Yeah, that was brilliant.
Well,
Like,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead, please.
it just made a lot of sense to the story, and you just took on like all these souls and stuff. Something dramatic was going to happen. You're not going to act normal in that situation or in that moment.
Well, it's interesting because even up until even after he, had his emotional awakening, Dill against Anima later was like, well, I'm a member of this crew, and if I have to be the one to be the bait, so be it. He kind of reverted back into being like that, utilitarian way of thinking, not just about others, but also about himself. Can you speak to that a little bit? Did that factor into your thought process in that finale?
yeah, I mean, I think Dill had that also when he jumped into the piece of Anima. He was like embracing the fact that if it's his choice, there's no, moral question to it. Obviously, at that last moment with Anima, he had more souls on board, so it would have been a bigger risk. But I just, this is also like, I didn't know how much finale we were gonna do. I was very open to the idea that Bill gets assimilated by Anima itself and has an even weirder like. I think the version of that I would have really liked is if somehow the whole crew could get assimilated by Anima and had its like a whole stuck inside the beast adventure together. But
Like Voltron.
Yeah.
Like where I'm controlling an arm and Prickles
Yeah.
controls the leg.
Well,
but
I mean, you all only dealt with, and I'm putting dealt with in air quotes or an asterisk at the end of it. You all only dealt with 2 pieces of Anima. Well, 3. You dealt with the Terrible Tower. You took the one you got from, what's his name? Shannon's friend.
Yeah.
What was his name? The like pre-verdant trade dealer. He was a funny guy.
My notes.
His name is
Eric.
Eric. Yeah, lots of K people.
Yeah.
Ix.
Yeah, Eric. ERIQ.
Yeah. The fence for preview items. You dealt with the one you got from him, the Terrible Tower one, and the Beast one that became a Maw ship, basically.
Yeah.
So you've all only dispersed 3 of those, and they're just in the sea again.
Yep.
Except for the Terrible Tower one. That is dead. That one is permanently dealt with. I would say. But you all saw the map. There are dozens of us out there in the sea. So
I had, just so you know, I had the idea in my head that we were also going to have our final fight at Terrible Tower, and had this whole idea of like somehow we use the tower as like a signal boost to befriend and communicate with, rather than killing the giant piece of Anima.
That could have been fun.
But again, for that to be satisfying, it would have to be like several more episodes, just to like build it. So,
Yeah.
I liked the way that we ended up dealing with things, because it wrapped up nicely. Um,
For as messy as every other episode of the season was, the last one kind of was a little neat.
Well, think of
every
how
year-
long it. Go ahead, Andy.
Go ahead. No, please.
Think of how long we had to come up with a plan to kill Anima, and when did we actually do it? And the break on the last episode. That's when we finally came up with the plan.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
like,
the reason why we didn't come up with a plan earlier, because there was no clear solution. There was still a lot of mystery behind it. There was a lot of factors to
Right.
factor in, and we finally came to a head by being forced into action and by the situation and by the fact that we finally put the pieces together. And that kind of made it awesome because it wasn't like we had an idea and then we spent 5 sessions setting it up. We spent 5 sessions figuring out the right idea, and when we found it, we ran with it.
Yeah, in terms of like storytelling devices, like not handing you all a MacGuffin right away,
Right. Yeah.
or in the first act, so to speak, might not have been the best, but it did feel kind of like true to some stories I've seen of the genre that I was really inspired by at the beginning of this when I came up with the idea of anima, like very ecological horror, or technological horror, like we have to solve this problem, but like there's a mystery wrapped into it.
Yeah,
and
we
have
don't
to like
understand this thing. We
yeah.
don't.
We have a lead. We have a small lead in that, like, oh yeah, we could just go hire some hunters, or we could go talk to some engineers at the bottom of a tower in the cold. Let's start there. And then y'all did that, and you hated them. You hated everyone there. And I loved that because it took, I guess, what was sort of a small MacGuffin, and you all like discarded it because of the moral and ethical implications. So that was really
I
fun.
like how you kind of like you made me roleplay Salt as like jealous towards them because I saw them like eyeing Dill. Like they had like this weird look. They're looking at Dill with greed or whatever. So my instinct was like, that's gross. Like, no, that's my friend. You leave him alone.
Oh yeah. Wait, I don't remember. Did you know that they were thinking of him as fuel at that moment?
We didn't know what the reason behind it was, but what I detected was it was definitely they saw opportunity to take advantage of there.
Yeah, what a bunch of
So I was like, that doesn't sound good.
What a bunch of creeps.
I'm gonna deal with that.
mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
I was also expecting in those interactions, since we rolled such a mixed result on his disguise, and we determined that his disguise is actually like an offensive abomination to those people. I was shocked that there wasn't more like, why are you being disrespectful to our culture shit while he was running around the streets. But I know that Nick had an eye on getting us to they're eating the Ironbound story.
Y'all were just so full of opportunity for conflict in the way you interacted with the world. I had to pick and choose.
Yeah.
I had to pick and choose what hill to kill you on.
Right.
That finale, I was expecting the bomb trigger to fail in some way, and then we end up having to fight Anima and having to like ad hoc a plan B from out of nowhere. That's kind of like where mine was, and I love the fact that the bomb, like our plan worked. Like there wasn't an issue with it, but it was the aftermath that became the immediate issue, and we're like, oh crap, we're gonna die.
It worked a little too well.
That was a great way to finish it up.
Yeah.
With different sequences and challenges to avoid being eaten up by our own bomb.
I love that I just didn't have to actually describe Anima, because I spent a lot of time thinking about what is it actually going to look like when it surfaces. And I, of course, described like some of its limbs and stuff, but I didn't know what I was gonna say, and I was like resigned to just be forced to describe it in the moment, and then I didn't have to.
I was
yeah.
ready to like dive into Anna's mouth with the moss like in hand or something. Like
That would have been amazing. But I oh man, I hate when characters that I care about die. It's so painful.
Hmm.
You know, and it's like you want to see all of your friends live long lives and prosperous ones, whatever that looks like for them. So like for me, Dill is gonna go off and have his own community like somewhere, and I think that like Prickles and Amber are gonna like pal around and like maybe look for new life forms after the bomb went off. And I don't know, like I don't know. And Salt, like I think Salt's gonna go and like become a god amongst his people, maybe.
He was offered, basically.
He was definitely. I was like, all right.
He has an
Salt,
offer on the
go do it.
table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It shocked me. Brian, did you ever reach out to me about being okay with your character dying? I don't remember. Because everyone else did.
Okay, I was just about to ask a question earlier. First of all, I was going to, by a show of hands, let me ask this. How many people were ready to, in the finale, sacrifice their character to kill Anima and end the mission? That's what I thought. I never reached out to you about it because I was just planning on doing it in the moment, Nick. I think we're all ready to end the story that way if we wanted to. I think in my mind, it was I was going to draw Anima in by becoming like one with the plants around me, and then set off the bomb and just grab him and pull him down into the depths or something. And then the story evolved differently, and then that didn't happen. But
I think Amber, in my mind, if she had to die, that it would be like an exact, like exactly the way that it happened, like the first time for her, where she's like in a show off with Anima, and she's like seeing her past, and it's like happening again in front of her, and she's like,
oh yeah,
ready to sacrifice herself to like blow
history
Anima
repeats
up.
itself kind of moment.
Exactly. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was what I was thinking. Like if Amber had to die, like that was how it was going to happen.
I made a decision very early on as I was thinking about concepts for Anima and in general divines and which one I wanted to use this season. I will admit that I am stealing the idea of divines from another actual play source called Friends at the Table. They are my favorite. They have a fictional setting they keep revisiting with divines in them, and the very first one articulated in the game is called Rigor, an ancient divine, the first in existence. It is known for dominating and enslaving all around it with the goal of maximum efficiency for efficiency's sake. And the way that the heroes beat it, and I'm going to spoil the ending of Counterweight. So I guess listeners, if you don't want the show Counterweight spoiled in the finale, the way they defeat it is basically by the storyteller Austin Walker asks each player to describe how their character essentially overworks themselves to outrigor rigor. And it even ends with one character's death, and all of them could have died. They basically, like, they described it, they each made a roll. And one of them died. But I decided, especially with the idea of Anima and its ability being about activation and harmony and not homogenizing, but like combining, assimilating. I thought that the only way people, if they were going to sacrifice themselves, the only way that would work would be by assimilation, and basically out assimilating him, out assimilating that piece of Anima, a small piece, albeit. So I think if people had described a way of self-sacrifice to like combine themselves, like Dill had potentially considered doing, I would have leaned into that. But I think otherwise I wouldn't have felt that would have leaned into the theme very strongly. But I still would have been open to it. But I just had very early on been thinking about those things already. Because I love the idea of divines, and have like being a common person fighting one, and rigor being that combat being an inspiration to me. I didn't want it to be. I wanted it to be thematically appropriate. That idea of self-sacrifice. Yeah, exactly. You think I'm trapped in here with you? No, friend, you're trapped in here with me.
Mm-hmm.
Can I want to move on. I want to talk about favorite moments, favorite characters, and my favorite, the moment when you all save Exaltair and then talk to him about going back to dealing with it. And he says, quote, where is it? Oh, it disappeared on me. That would you say that ship is a dinner bell?
Oh yeah.
That was so powerful, my man. I love that line.
I was so ready for that thing to like just attack the new ship that was coming in to rescue him. Like I was in that mindset, like you would be, right? You just experienced this traumatic event. The thing was clearly hunting the ship, not the people.
It was brilliant.
And then this loud ship lumbers along and it's like, no, stay away from me.
I think you did the best job of building up Anima as a horror monster, better than I could have done with that one line.
Thank you.
It was beautiful. So what other character moments, what other NPCs really stuck out to you all and that you'll carry with you?
Well, I love Iota.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all know Amber had her sexual awakening.
She loves Iota. She's like gonna steal Iota from Volpa 100%. Volpa, like,
well, they're not gonna become a throuple?
No, she hates Volpa.
Because she hid from us the entire goddamn
Where the hell was she? We were looking for her, and then she zipped up at the end.
Yeah, she definitely wasn't gonna go to the cold. She definitely went to the Foxlofts to look for people to recruit.
Oh, great!
And all she got was Sherman.
Gotcha. I mean, but Sherman's great. You know, he brings us the mail. He gives us the news. I think my favorite character moment was Dill. Actually, I think about this often, like at the Torobal Towers, like when he's having his like standoff with Anima, and Anima's like, "Come be with us, like, you know, I gave you life, like we are one. I'm your god." And Dill's like, "So fucking what? So you're a god. I don't care." And like just like shucks it off. I was like, yes, that was, I don't know. I loved that moment personally. That was like one of my favorites.
It was it was fun. I think I don't normally, I usually like, so far in RPGs, playing characters that feel like they're there to say silly shit and just and be more background. But this is definitely the first game that I played where I felt like I was like really trying to guide elements of the larger story for the character's story. So I hope I didn't main character.
No, like everyone's character development was very, very intriguing. I was a big fan of like the way Dill's story was progressing, but like I don't know. I've got a favorite. My favorite moment is probably the group hallucination
Yes.
early on. That was
the
just
best scene of it.
so
That was
fun.
so fun. That was
Oh
great.
man.
And
Fucking
I loved it so much. I loved it so much because, like, from one moment to the next, as players that are crafting the story, we still had no idea what was about to happen, how wild it was going to get. Because, like,
holding,
anything
like,
could have
the
happened. It was like
umbrella.
wide
Yeah.
open, and
So
Yeah.
good.
That was
That was good.
a really tricky needle to thread. Up until the moment where I like invited you all to join me in doing it and being a part of the gag, and y'all fucking nailed it.
It was fantastic.
I-
That
I-
was a really fun scene.
That was great.
I felt like my work was to get you all bought in by starting with one person, convincing you that you were not on your ship, that there was threats
that
around
was
you,
so good. was
and
so
like
good.
building that
I
energy for
love
you
that.
all to jump into. And it was
That was
great.
perfectly constructed. More like that in going forward. That was fun.
Yeah, that was terrific.
That was a blast.
Just
Yeah,
from the very
I
start. Just,
I
Prickles,
think
you're
it's-
not on your ship. Oh, sorry, I keep interrupting.
Yeah.
you. Sorry.
no, it's delay. I apologize. I also, I just like, Nick, I don't think you often take on the role of unreliable narrator, and it was really fun to see you do it because it was something like nothing is necessarily trustworthy. We are hallucinating. Something's going on, and it became really fun to play around with. So
Yeah.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed that. That was a really fun scene for all of us, I think.
When I was the few times that I considered like running a campaign when I was story crafting myself, just figuring out my setting and what I wanted to do, I would like almost every time fall into a pattern of it would be so great to be that unreliable narrator type, and I would spitball ideas with Sam, and Sam said like you'd be a great person at playing the untrustworthy or unreliable narrator and just kind of flipping things on its head. So I love that stuff. And once he started by saying, Prickles, you're not on your ship, I was like, is this like is this like a I didn't think it was like a hallucination. I didn't know what was going on, but it was like this is like some unreliable narrator shit. Like this is great. This is gonna be awesome.
Hell yeah. You caught me early then, but
Yeah.
it was good.
Well, I caught you early too and decided it would be way more fun to just lean into it as hard as humanly possible and just roll right down that hill.
Yeah.
And it was.
I was very, very open to the possibility that we had all been like knocked out and taken hostage, and we were about to do like a fight our way out of captivity episode.
Uh-huh. Well, I've done those before. See,
That would have been really cool too.
see, from Deadly Dungeon Rising, see the episode called Brain Changer, where the party has already failed their mission and were being interrogated by a mind flayer in the form of a game show.
I would watch
said-
that.
You should.
You said brain changer, and I thought you were going
it's
to say
fun.
that you Freaky Friday the characters, and
that
they
would
each
be
swapped. They did
Yeah.
a body swap, and you'd have them roll to do stuff, and then their roll would have totally unexpected consequences because they were operating a different body.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Which
Please read
sounds
Shannon
fun, and
Carl.
sounds also like putting you, Nick, through the worst grinder of having to figure out how to narrate that. So,
yeah, whoever's in Prickle's body, yeah, you
Yeah.
don't have senses in the way you think you have senses. Get fucked. Okay. I do want to ask if there was an aspect of each of your characters, like backstory or a facet of your character that you had kind of invented that never came up that you wish had, or if there was anything about the set. Well, let's start there. I know, Shannon, you gave me a lot of free reign to write the backstory of your character, and I had played around with a number of ideas.
I like the idea that she didn't know anything about her life. I like that she was like a brand new person, like having recently been awoken from the amber, and not, and she's just like a big question mark. She was open to whatever, and
It
just
would
trying
be
to like
fun.
survive, right? Like just trying to like figure out like the day to day in this weird ass world that she's found herself in. You know what I mean? Like when she went under, she has like vague memories of being like super into like old Earth that was, and like collecting like bits of like trivia and shit. Like she knows things that don't mean anything to the world that she lives in now. So it's like she's just a fish out of water.
Mm-hmm.
I love that.
That would be really interesting and fun to do. And I love the way I appreciate the fact that that can be really tricky and challenging as a GM. Like knowing how far to go, like what will this person that this friend of mine think if I reveal this backstory to them, and what if they don't like it and it's their character? Like I understand how tricky that could be, but I think you did an excellent job there, and it was really that was really cool though.
I'll let me respond to that. Shannon is the perfect person to have as your player when you're doing this, because no matter what you say about her character's backstory, she's going to gasp and love it with glee.
I really do.
You could say she is a gopher rancher.
Awesome.
She learns, and Shannon's just like, holy shit, no way, fuck yes.
I had a whole ranch full of gophers.
Yep.
Did they all have names and hats? Because
of course they did. Of course they. Yes. There you go. See, it's easy. It's easy when you're working with Shannon.
The clue would be when Amber has idle time, she just has this urge to craft little felt hats.
To crochet very small scarves.
She has no idea why.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the pieces click.
There's she one of her memorabilia from an earlier age that she's nostalgic for is like a gopher whacking machine, but she can't bring herself to play it.
Whack-a-mole.
Yeah, but she can't play it. There's something about it.
Oh, it hurts. It just I can't. I don't want to hit them. Yeah,
they're so cute.
God,
I love them.
Funny. Pierre.
Yeah. So what about you, Travis? Was there anything about the Cosmer or their ideology or your character's history? As I think we had called him not a hunter, but like his job was
like
basically
a researcher.
To come down on behalf of them and research Leviathans.
Yeah, like his backstory was like the satellite cities that he's from, they have their own issues with Leviathan encounters, and they're obviously trying up there to figure out a way to deter them or control that situation. So he came down to the sea to try to look here. Like they're all looking at what they have up there, not being successful. What's down here? Maybe I can learn from the Leviathan down here, research it, and maybe something will click and I can bring that back home. That was the idea there. I would have liked to, and I say this just, I love just consuming story. So as long as there's story to tell, I'm always going to want to know this, that, the other thing. So I'm not missing the fact that we didn't. I want to get that clear, but that is something I would have liked to just kind of explore a little bit. Like, I'm just really curious. I'll phrase it that way. I'm curious what he might be able to bring back to society to help with the Leviathan problem. I'm really curious what his society would actually be like. we didn't really have a space to like travel there and explore that as a setting, but that idea just kind of fascinates. But there's nothing that I really feel like I missed out on or anything like that. Just a lot of curiosities.
You know, I'm writing down ideas for a future season, right?
Mhm.
Okay, great, cool. We can talk. Yeah, I do feel like the Cosmer, you and I had a lot of chats about them very early on, and they're so exciting. And I did struggle
Right.
to find their place in the story. I felt like linking these semi-ambivalent observers of the planet through your character's lens was my way of making them helpful, but also a reason for the party to distrust or hate them.
Yeah.
Little did I know that Amber's sexual tension was all I needed all along.
She's magnetic, you know,
And yet also repulsive.
so repulsive.
So I hope you didn't feel like I robbed you of an opportunity to explore your character's background there.
No,
Okay.
not at all. I just love star stuff.
Star stuff's good. I think the way that we leaned into some of his hallucinations and the whisper of the Fox and the Hounda carried throughout the whole story. So I did feel good.
I have no idea how you came up with the parts of that you did. And I don't know how I came up with the parts of that hallucination that I did either. It just felt like a magical moment where it was just so wild and weird. And then Fox and the Hounda, there's a car, there's a fox. What the heck?
I don't know,
loved
man.
it.
I don't
It
know.
was great.
Just,
That was just-
bullshit.
It was great.
Wordplay, fancy wordplay and bullshit. That's how it works.
Good fancy wordplay and good bullshit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm leaving Prickles for last intentionally, but
Okay.
Andy, how did you feel about the craziness with Dill? I know we've talked about this a little bit, but
I mean, I had fun pivoting to Dill is now carrying a whole community of anchored ironbounds. Because I felt like that was like a really interesting story turn for what when we first made our characters felt like an interesting combination, like anchored ironbound, like he's already made of dead stuff and then he died again, like his relationship with death is just different. But I had an interesting arc in mind for Flavor Engineer that and his mire of like cooking good food, or his goal, his drive of like cooking good food for people. Has anyone read Stone Soup, the children's
Yes.
book?
yes.
So for those who
Man.
don't know, this guy basically like tricks an old lady into helping him make a soup despite her greed and selfishness. And does so by saying like, yeah, we get this great soup from a stone and water. I mean, we just need some vegetables from your garden and maybe and
I have heard that.
really I had this, that was sort of the inspiration for the soup ingot anchored item in the first place. But
Love it.
but I had this idea that every place that we stopped, dropped anchor, whatever, he would go into like a tavern or a bar and like learn or cook something with the people there and like develop a little menu as he went. Which was the original like non-exciting, just like fun, heartwarming storyline that I had in mind for him when we started. Which is why like there were a couple of times when I tried to get him into like kitchens in the story to be like, he helps them fight the dinner rush,
Yeah.
or whatever. But our story never had those like light stakes in it, or at least didn't very often. So that's okay. I really like the turn that Bill got to have, but I would have enjoyed the cooking being more of his storyline than just sort of like a thing that he did every once in a while.
Yeah. I think if we had spent more time in communities and just kind of like slowed down to see you all like just doing a normal thing, like vibing with communities that you visited, that would have been really cool and a lot more meaningful.
I mean, I thought we still had a great track, so I'm not complaining, but I did like, this echoes what you were talking about with Salt's character, and I feel this for Amber and Prickles as well, which is like, I would have loved to have spent time at each of their communities and picked up a dish from each of their communities and like made like, you know, had like the cactus bread that has fucking thorns in it, and the, you know, like so that I think it would have been cool both to explore those characters in each of their own worlds, but also to have that like world menu development story for Dill of just like, he's making a nice dinner.
I love that.
I'd watch that Let's Play campaign like all on its own.
Like,
and then his finale would be just the 3 fishes episode of the 7 fishes episode of the bear, where he's just like fighting against a anxious cantankerous kitchen of just like, just get my fucking food on the table.
I love it.
The Bear is such a good show.
So good. Okay, I want to talk about Prickles. So, Brian,
yes,
your character intentionally seemed, from what I believe from having talked to you early on in our prep, you intentionally wanted to kind of take a back seat, both in terms of your character's like backstory and their authorship and agency over the story, and driving of the plot, and
driving the plot.
Yeah. In the words of Captain Soliday, how do you think that went, Captain?
It's hard for me to not drive the story. It really is. But I think I did succeed a little bit in making sure that I didn't overtake everybody's moments. Everybody had their moment of the story when they got to shine. I even wrote some of them down in prep. Like, Dill got to save the souls of a dozen or more Ironbounds, bring them into himself.
Yeah.
And then become a split personality, awesome, crazy man, as he took the best and the brightest of all of them and made it into wonderful roleplay. Salt got to disprove his own religion, and he got to soar through the stars and had an epic moment in more than one case where in combat against the ghost down underneath in the depths, and then against, even as we're trying to escape Anima at the end, where he got to like have his moment. Amber got to relive her own past, find out what she couldn't remember, and then in the end right the wrong, that whether she deemed it as a wrong or not, but right the wrong of what happened to create the world. And then Prickles, by not taking that command of the story, but by over time slowly learning to trust all these people around him, of none of whom he trusted at the started the campaign, eventually was able to work on gaining that trust and then helping to formulate the grand plan to end it all. So in the end, I did take the lead, but it was very roundabout the way that I got to it. I think
you worked into it very slowly. Like, it felt like a natural progression.
It felt very like probably the most collaborative campaign that I've been a part of, as far as what's driving the whole story forward throughout. Like it didn't feel like any one person was the main character to me. They're main characters in the scene, but I think we did an excellent job with that.
I agree.
Hold on, I'm looking.
That having been said, I would have loved to have seen a cactus community that like communicates in like, you know, pheromones and flower blooms and stuff like that, and like the 3 of us are just like, where the fuck are we? Why are there thorns everywhere? possible to walk anywhere in this place, and like, yeah,
Can't sit on any of the furniture. It's none of it is safe. Yeah.
I don't think, Brian, that you particularly took control of like the party's choices, but I think what you did do is you kept the group moving. You recognized the moments that we were maybe stalling a little bit, and kept it moving forward. So I'm going to read from the Navigator post. Navigators make sure a ship can get from A to B with the minimum of trouble and the maximum of opportunity. I think the latter is true. You definitely did that. Maximum opportunity. Minimum trouble, maybe not so much.
Yeah. It's fun in that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's it. That's all I wanted to read. I was just like, let me look to the Navigator post, and I think you kept the crew on the path forward.
I did love the Navigator role. Like, I looked through all
really
of them, like every single one, and took some time and thought. And when I finally settled on that one, I was pretty happy with my choice.
Good.
Like, there's a whole lot of things in the Navigator to support and move and push the ship, but it was definitely not the leader type of class that I wanted to play. So
yeah. Okay. So I want to move on to a couple of fun questions before we wrap. I'm near my out time. I have a Great British Bake Off date.
Nice.
understood.
If your character had played a different bloodline, what would it have been?
Oh.
same character, just different bloodline.
Yeah, same post and origin, different bloodline. What would you have been interested in playing? And that's between Ardent, the humans, Gao, which were the fungal people, Ironbound, Ketra, which were the kind of like slug humanoid descendants, Celicrae, or Mothrin.
I know my answer.
Yeah, it's Celicrae for you, Brian. You like the
consciousness of many makes the decisions for one. It sounded neat as a concept. It didn't fit into what I wanted to play for the campaign, but it was a good concept. You could come up with a really good character for that one.
What would they have been a Celicrae of? Traditionally, I think it's depicted as spiders, but you can do anything.
I feel like it'd be fun to do a collective of like a small animal.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Squirrels.
As opposed to like an insect, like
mini squirrels
or birds.
Yeah. There's an actual play called My First Dungeon where they play as a bunch of they're like a type of bat that look like little bumblebees.
Oh my god.
I forget what they're called, but it's hilarious.
Oh, so cute.
And then there's a villain in that is a bunch of lizards.
Ooh.
Or
A whole ant colony that occupied a person would have been fun.
Oh.
There's Nick in the connections tab on our sheet. There's a crow Celicrae character named Murder, which like love that. Great. Was it insects inside a crow's body making a crow, or was it a flock of crows?
Murder,
as
I'd say.
So Celicrae, by definition, they're typically a unintelligent creature that have come together and by some sort of space magic, arcanautics is what it's called in this system, they just form a collective consciousness, and they then choose to wrap their body in cloth, skin, furs, burlap sack, like whatever they can find to basically create a container.
Ugh, that just feels so spooky.
Oh, so they're all rat kings as well, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. So when you say crow telecray, it's still like it looks like a being just walking across the ground, but it's crows inside a bag.
But that form can be whatever.
Sure. I just didn't know if they took the form of a crow.
They could.
Or
They could.
okay.
Why not?
Just one.
Sure.
All right. Yeah, the telecray was interesting.
Yeah, I really like the idea of collective consciousness, and then I was even happier with my choice for anima, and to hand you a bunch of Ironbound when no one chose a Celicray character, and there was none that was like really upfront in the fiction.
I did also. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm sorry, Andy. Go ahead.
Please, I'm talking too much.
No, you're not at all. I was just gonna say, like, I don't know how picking a different bloodline for like Amber, like with her background, but like I think if we played again, like I think I would want to be Gao, like a mushroom person. I think that would be really fun.
Yeah,
Because like I like the idea of like if they're on the ship and like they're running out of fuel, she can like break off like a piece of her
oh my God,
arm or something and like throw it into the I know it's like, but she's technically food then at that point. I don't know, like it's yeah, well,
how does Amber feel about Ectus? Hey, can I get some
He's not
agave there,
food.
buddy? Can I get some
he's not food, but he did
aloe?
graft
Can I get some?
yeah, he
What Amber thinks of the Ectus
onto
is they are the quenchiest.
he's not food, but he, his body provided things for us. He was able to like grow aloe after he like grafted it onto his body or whatever, and that was very valuable to us. So like I like the idea of having a body that can like do more, like double duty,
I think one of the aspects that Ectus have is like they can have really large bodies. It'd be really fun to use that. I think that Shannon would definitely play an Ectus with a really large round body that would break through walls and just shout, "Oh yeah, quenchiest, baby."
100. Yeah, absolutely. She would like, hey, Kool-Aid all over the fucking place. There would be no walls left standing.
Prickly pear Kool-Aid.
That's right. Did we hear from Andy and Travis?
Not yet.
Yeah, please. What different bloodline would your character be if you could pick a different one?
Andy? Me?
Either one. I don't care.
Andy?
I think I was really curious about the Mothrin. Just like I feel like in the realm of like fantasy characters where you're sort of analogs of an earth creature in many different ways. This is a spider person, a crow person, whatever. Like moth is not something I feel like I see very often, so it was very intriguing to me. I did have this idea of having a character who like could not walk into a room without going to stare at whatever light source was in the room, like a moth.
Perfect.
Like
one of you walks into a bright room, the Mothrin is just drawn to the light, meanwhile Exalterra is just freaking the fuck out.
But and like moths eat dead things, so I also like love the idea that as a char you'd be like serving like decomposed animal and stuff, and people would just be like, this is gross, and you'd be like, this is a delicacy to my people.
Waste not, want not.
Yeah.
If one of our grandmothers was on the ship, you would feed a certain sweatshirt.
Yes, exactly. Oh yeah, this fabric. This is amazing. I did have, and we never got to realize this scene. Just where you're talking about eating Ectus. This idea that we could cook like some prickly pears or something off of prickles and serve it as like this is made from a growth from our crew's body. Like,
you having battery troubles there, Nick?
Right, Travis, hit it.
Yeah.
Can you hear us now?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. It seemed like you were messing with your battery quite a bit there.
Yeah, I apparently put in had to replace a battery with a dead, and then I replaced it with a dead battery.
Gal, like 100%. And so I considered playing a Gal at first, but in my mind, a creature like a Gal wouldn't talk like audibly. It would communicate in other ways, and I would need more time to figure out how I wanted to role play that. So once you told me about the expansion book, I was like, I love expansion books. Those are usually weird. So
there's some really weird stuff in Storm and Root.
but
really great.
in the vein of like my character, same like kind of character, different bloodline, I think that would be really interesting as a Gal. Instead of like reading the stars or whatever, you would divine from like the root or the arc, tap into the world tree network type of thing. I think that would be really cool.
You just made me think of like, oh, let's read how all the trees are moving, like at their bases, as like a reading of tectonic plates.
Yeah,
that could be a fun.
I'm thinking so much Avatar: The Last Airbender right now.
All right, I have
Just
one.
started rewatching that.
Oh, I need to. I haven't watched the
It's
live
so
action
good.
one still.
The Avatar
Surprised me.
The new show
for Earth, the new one for Earth Kingdom is supposed to be coming out in 2025, and there's supposed to be a movie in 2026 or 2027.
Exciting.
Cool.
Okay, last question. So if you each, I know that at least one of you have departed the crew, but if each of you went back to Ladle's Rest and they awarded you some kind of like award or compensation or wish for your service, your character, not you, but your character, what would it be? If we had the like end of A New Hope where, you know, Princess Leia has you all there before everybody and she just like puts a medal on your chest, except it's not a medal, it's something you actually want. What is it?
Salt would get his own dedicated like hot tub area in that I forget what they're called.
The springs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spring.
The smoke springs or
Shadow Springs, I think.
Shadow Springs.
There's like smoke houses and Shadow Springs, and sometimes both in one.
Yeah. He would have like his own like personal hot tub or like a VIP pass there or something like that.
All you can bathe card.
Nice.
Present this card, we'll kick out everyone who's currently in the tubs.
Awesome. Man, that would be a good prize.
It's like that, is it the American Express Black Card? There's like certain stores you can present it at and they'll like close the store for you to shop privately or whatever.
What the fuck are you on?
I don't know if they still do that, but I feel like that was like a thing once, that the Centurion card would let you do that.
I thought that was just a thing that like Beyonce did sometimes. I don't know.
Something that she does.
Includes elite status and hospitality brands, skip the line access at Centurion Airport lounges, and discounts at private airport waiting rooms. Concierge service, broad purchase protection, and special treatment at select hotels and resorts. The annual fee is $5,000. Fuck off.
Okay. I don't know that Amber would be like, I don't think that she would want like a token, but I think she might enjoy like being gifted like a role in their society or something as like a storyteller. Now that she remembers a lot of her past, she can like tell them like stories about the way the world used to be, what things were. You know what I mean? I think she'd be.
I want weekly story time with Amber.
Yeah.
I want everyone to have to take a siesta on Fridays to come hear me talk about the past.
Yep, that's exactly what she wants.
Andy, I see you yawning. You're invited, but you have to stay awake.
Sorry.
You're good.
It really caught up with me. I'm very tired. I apologize.
It's
if I'm
okay.
being-
It's been, I'm sure, a very busy day for you, Mr.
Yeah,
Dog
for real.
Dad.
Yeah.
Prickles would want food and supplies for the ship and then to get out of there. He
It's so
wouldn't
practical.
trust any gift that was given to him by the community because he would figure they would have an ulterior motive behind it and that he would have to owe him something afterwards.
Mm.
There's such thing as a free lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Dill would just want like a really, really nice suite of new pots and pans. And then immediately Ollie would like assimilate them, and Dill would be like, give me the fucking 2-quart saucepan, and Ollie would just like throw a bunch of other bullshit at him and be like, is this what you mean? I don't know what a quart is. Help me. Like
strainer.
Oh, the 2-quart. Yeah. I improved it. It's this now.
Oh God, yeah, I could totally see Ollie doing that.
Like bent.
Ollie would be like, do you want to know what's better than 2 quarts? 2.5 quarts. I stretched out the bottom.
So he gives her back with just like a band of metal crudely welded onto the edge to just raise it a little bit. Like he's like, I improved.
Incredible. Well, this has been a really, really fun season. I know that kind of thematically, this was not really like exactly like a hero's story, or at least the one comment you made earlier, Andy, was about how leveling didn't feel very strong. And I was thinking about that and how the characters aren't like necessarily heroes like we saw, especially in season 1 with Dungeon World, or like in Dungeons and Dragons when your character's leveling and their power like you are literally power scaling as you level up. There isn't a lot of power scaling in this fiction. There's just looking cooler and doing cooler things. And I think that's okay. I think that this was a really fun and different project in that way, but it was still really, really fun. And I really enjoyed how the Wild Sea makes a lot of space for that creativity to solve whatever problems that the storyteller throws at you in whatever way you want. And whatever you've imagined for a character would do. So a big thank you to Felix Isaacs for this awesome, awesome game. And thank you to my wonderful 4 players for joining me on this wild ride on the Wild Sea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Really, really
Thank
fun
you.
story.
Yeah.
This has been a great group.
This has been a great group.
Yeah, it was wonderful getting to play with all of you.
Yeah. I think in our future on the show, we can look forward to probably some like one-shots using some micro RPGs. On Wednesdays. I'll probably still stream on Wednesdays, probably some other stories or some other tabletop related content. I don't immediately have plans for season 4, but I have a lot of ideas that I'm always marinating on, so you can definitely look forward to that in some sort of announcement in the future. But for now, I think Brian and and Andy are being invited to play in a game with John that John is running, John Dungeon Master, in the new Dungeons and Dragons. Is that what we're doing?
That's the plan.
Travis has also invited me to play in a game called Draw Steel, which looks fucking sick. Travis and I made my character the other day. I still don't have a name, but they're sick as hell.
Yeah, I'm so excited to run that.
Travis,
that's not gonna be on stream though.
No, that's just gonna be a private game. Travis told me what another player who's been on the show, Eric, John Frulisets, that was in the Grim Streets of Alderstone with Travis and I. Travis told me what character he was playing, and I was like, great, I want that character, but completely different. I am playing the same class, but entirely different. It's wild. Very cool system. Inspired by Forbidden Lands, which I'm a big fan of. Yeah. So lots of tabletop content out there. Amber has yet, Shannon has yet to invite me to a game. So I guess she's the odd one out here.
I am. I'm super weird and odd.
But
you're just Amber now.
But
I am Amber now, I guess. Yeah.
If you missed it, last Saturday, Shannon and I discussed Dungeon Crawler Carl as I read the first 2 chapters on stream for like 2 hours. It took us 2 hours to read 2 chapters and talk about it. It's really good. I love this story. I'm going to be reading it.
I can't wait for you to get further into it.
It's
like just some of the conversations we were
God.
having tonight about like some of the things like that you wanted to see, like where you were talking about like how like that you switched brains and it's on a game show. I'm like, oh my God, read this fucking book.
This
read
book
this
is
series.
insane. The series is insane.
It's so good. Yeah,
really amazing hooks. I've been hooked by the first 2 chapters. Incredible.
Wait till you get to the rest. Can we do? You want to do another one like where we read like the next 2 chapters, 3 and 4?
Yes, we can do that. Let me tell you, there's a lot of chapters in book 1. So if we're gonna be doing that, we'll be at it for a while.
Wait till you get to book 6, it's even longer.
And with that, I need to apologize to Andy. Dungeon Crawler Carl has a lot less body horror than Perdido Street Station.
That's okay. I've given it some thought. I'm gonna hound you to read a different China Mieville book so that we can discuss it. That has only a little bit of body horror.
Oh, okay, great, good.
Not an entire social class of people who have been victims of horrific bodily modification. So
yeah, that's like the penal system is if you've committed a crime, your body is changing, and it's not your choice.
It's fucked up.
It's really and not only that, it's been changed to serve society, the elite in some way. Fuck you.
Yep.
As long as you settle on some things, because I really like the Nick reads this many chapters, so that means Andy has to watch this many episodes. I really like that.
Oh my God, Andy. Okay, last comment, and then I promise I'm done rambling. Andy made a comment about the morality system and ethics of the Tarobal Tower people and his feelings on that, and my immediate reaction was, I need to know your thoughts on Gon's ethics and morals. It was like, you said something like some character was like, well, if that's what you choose for yourself, it's fine. And I'm like, that's Gon! That's fucking Gon!
I guess you have to watch this show now.
That's Gon's morals.
I gotta watch it. Listen,
you can participate in death games as long as you agree to it. But if you didn't agree to that, then that's not okay.
We're gonna start the puppy on Bluey, and then we'll graduate him to
work your way up.
Your Hunter.
I love it.
Nick, my rewatch. I'll just give you a hint as to how far I got. Moral crying thumbs up.
Yep, got it.
That's the hint.
Understood. Yeah. Fantastic. Yep. With that, love you all. Everything is well. Nick. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Take care.